In this Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree video, I'll be taking you through my top 10
Milady
builds. Let's get started. Coming in at number 10, I have the Lightning Build. This can be used with either two Milady weapons or just a single one, entirely up to you. In the main hand, I do have a Keen Milady with the Ash of War called Wing Stance. In the offhand, I have a Lightning Milady. For the seal, I'm using the Erdtree seal plus 10, which is great because Faith scales with an S with this particular seal. For the talismans, I'm using the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman to boost up the physical damage negation. Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, which greatly raises attack power with successive attacks. Yes, I am using the Lightning Scorpion Charm. Now, this raises the lightning attack, but it also lowers your damage negation. So this is completely optional. This is why I would recommend that you beef up your defenses with armor to kind of mitigate that damage that you're losing with the Scorpion Charm. In the fourth slot, I'm using the Two-Headed Turtle Talisman that greatly raises stamina recovery speed, as when you're using the dual setup of Miladies, it really chews up your stamina very quickly. For those that do not want to use the Lightning Scorpion Charm, and if you are going with the Wing Stance, there's a couple of other options that I would recommend that you check out. One of those options is the Rolana's Cameo, although I'm not really a huge fan of this one because the delay that it takes for the Rolana's Cameo Talisman to trigger, it's about 1 second, and it's a little bit too long, especially when you're in a boss fight. But when you're kind of roaming around, you're fighting normal mobs, it's really good, and it really beefs up the Ash of War. So Rolana's Cameo is a really good option. Another talisman option here is the tried and true Shard of Alexander, which greatly boosts the attack power of skills such as Wing Stance. As for the Wondrous Physic, I have Thorny Crack Tear, which temporarily boosts successive attack power. I also have Lightning Shrouding Crack Tear, which temporarily boosts lightning attacks. Now, if you feel that you need some extra defenses, feel free to swap one of these out for another one that I tend to use quite a bit in my builds, which is the Opaline Heart Tear. This will temporarily boost all damage negation in your physic. For the incantations, I'm using Bestial Vitality, Black Flames Protection, Golden Vow, and Electrify Armament. For the armor, I'm using the Iron Casa, the Beast Champion Armor, Beast Champion Gauntlets, and the Beast Champion Greaves. For the RL 150 setup, I have the following attribute points. For Vigor, I have 55, Mind 25, Endurance 30, Strength is 12, Dexterity I have at 40, Intelligence is 9, Faith is set to 50, and Arcane is 8. For the RL 200 setup, I have Vigor at 55, Mind at 25, Endurance at 30, Strength 12, Dexterity at 60, Intelligence 9. Faith, I have all the way up to 80, which really takes advantage of the seal that we're using with this build. And then Arcane at 8. Coming in at number 9 is the Fire Milady build. Now, with this one, I went with the flame art for the fire. And yes, this is a dual setup, but good news, if you only have one Milady, you can do this build with one single Milady as well. For the main hand, I have the Flame Art version of Milady with the Ash of War called Flame Skewer. The Flame Skewer Ash of War is really fun. It hits like a truck. So when you hit your L2, you will do the Flame Skewer, and there's also an additional input if you choose to do so with R2, which does a lashing forward like a fire flame attack right after that, but it's optional. It's really cool, and it hits really hard as well. In the offhand, if you're doing the dual Milady setup, I have the same exact weapon and Ash of War, same across the board, Flame Art Milady with the Flame Skewer as well. For the seal, I'm using the Erdtree seal plus 10, as with the attribute scaling. For Faith, it scales with S. For the armor, I'm using the Winged Serpent Helm, Fire Knight Armor, Fire Knight's Gauntlets, and Fire Knight Greaves. For the talismans, I'm using Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, and yes, I am using the Fire Scorpion Charm. This raises your fire attack, but this lowers your damage negation. So this is your warning here. If you do this, you will get hit a little harder. Now, we do have the armor and some of the incantations to mitigate that damage. More on the incantations later. For the 4th slot, I have the Shard of Alexander. If you don't want the Fire Scorpion Charm, I would recommend swapping that out for the 2-headed turtle talisman. For the Wondrous Physic, I have Flame Shrouded Cracked Tear, which temporarily boosts fire attacks. I also have Thorny Cracked Tear, which temporarily boosts successive attack power. If you feel you're lacking defenses, feel free to swap one of these out for the Opaline Hard Tear. For the incantations, I have the following: Bestial Vitality, Black Flames Protection, and Golden Vow. For RL 150's attribute points, I have the following: Vigor at 55, Mind at 30, Endurance at 30, Strength at 12, Dexterity 35, Intelligence at 9, Faith at 50, and Arcane at 8. For RL 200, I have the following: Vigor at 55, Mind at 30, Endurance at 30, Strength 12, Dexterity 55, Intelligence 9, Faith at 80, and Arcane at 8. Coming at number 8, we have the Magic Milady Build. This can either be used in a dual wielding setup or a single Milady setup. It's completely your choice. In the main hand, I have a Keen Milady with the Ash of War called Glint Blade Phalanx. If you don't like that Ash of War, a couple of other options here would be Double Slash, maybe Sword Dance, but the world is your oyster when it comes to the Ash of War choices with this build. In the offhand, I have a Magic Milady Sword. When it comes to the seal, I have Frenzied Flame Seal, as this is using intelligence and faith. More on the attributes later. But I also have a staff, which is called Lusat's Glintstone Staff, as the intelligence with this staff scales with S. And this really benefits the magic sorcery we'll be going over here in a little bit. Now, if you do not want to have the seal and the staff setup, you can go with the new staff called Staff of the Great Beyond. This staff here allows you to cast both incantations and sorceries. For the armor, I'm using Iron Casa for the helmet, scaled armor for the body armor, scaled gauntlets, and then scaled greaves. For the talismans, I'm using Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia. I am using the Old Lord's Talisman, which extends spell effect duration. And the reason I'm using this is because we will be casting the sorcery buff on our main weapon, which extends the duration of that. And then lastly, we have the 2-headed turtle talisman. If you do not want one of these talismans here, you can always swap it out for the Magic Scorpion Charm. Just take note though, that using the Magic Scorpion Charm, although it raises your magic attack power, you'll also take in more damage. So just be wary of that. When it comes to the Wondrous Physic, I'm using Magic Shrouded Cracked Tear, which temporarily boosts magic attacks, and also the Thorny Cracked Tear. If you feel that you need more damage mitigation, I would swap one of these out for the Opaline Hard Tear. When it comes to our spells, because this is a mix of incantations and sorcery, I went with the Bestial Vitality, Black Flames Protection, and Golden Vow. That's for your incantations. For the sorcery, we'll be using Scholar's Armament, which will be applied to your right hand weapon, which then deals magic damage. For RL 150, I have the following attribute points: 50 Vigor, 25 Mind, 30 Endurance, 12 Strength, 24 Dexterity, 50 Intelligence, 30 Faith, and 8 Arcane. For RL 200, I have 55 Vigor, 24 Mind, 30 Endurance, 12 Strength, 40 Dexterity, 80 Intelligence, 30 Faith, and 8 Arcane. Coming in at number 7, I have a Bleed/Blood Flame Blade build with 2 Miladies. Now, you can do this setup with just one Milady. I want to talk about that separately here in a little bit. For now, let's focus on the dual setup. In the main hand, I have a Keen Milady with the Ash of War called Double Slash. In the offhand, I have Blood Milady. If you're going to go a single Milady build, you will have a Keen Milady in your main hand, and you will simply apply the Blood Flame Blade incantation to that main hand weapon. I will go over the different attribute points for the dual setup and the single Milady setup later in this section. For the seal, I'm using the Erdtree seal, which scales nicely with faith at a attribute scaling of S. For the armor, I'm wearing the white mask for the bleed proc, and I'm also using the Gravebird's Black Quill armor for the enhanced jump attacks. In addition to that, I am using the Gauntlets of Solitude and Greaves of Solitude. When it comes to the talismans, I'm using Dragoncrest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Two-Headed Turtle Talisman. You can always swap one of these out for the Claw Talisman, which will enhance jump attacks that will also stack with the armor piece. When it comes to the Wondrous Physic, I'm actually using the Opaline Hard tier, and I'm also using the Thorny Crack tier. When it comes to the incantations, I'm using Bestial Vitality, Black Flame's Protection, Golden Vow, and Blood Flame Blade. For the RL 150 for the dual Milady setup, I have the following: Vigor at 55, Mind 20, Endurance 30, Strength 12, Dexterity 33, Intelligence 9, Faith 30, Arcane 40. For the RL 200 attribute points, this is for the dual Milady setup. I have Vigor at 55, Mind at 20, Endurance 30, Strength 25, Dexterity 50, Intelligence 9, Faith 30, and Arcane at 60. If you want to do a single Milady using Blood Flame Blade, I have the following attribute points: Vigor at 55, Mind at 20, Endurance 30, Strength 12, Dexterity 33, Intelligence 9, Faith 60, Arcane 10. For RL 200 for a single Milady setup, and if you want to use the Blood Flame Blade incantation, I have the following attribute points: Vigor at 55, Mind at 20, Endurance at 30, Strength at 15, Dexterity at 60, Intelligence at 9, Faith at 80, Arcane at 10. Coming in at number 6, I have the Frost build. You can either do 2 Miladies or just one single Milady. It's entirely your choice. If you're going to go with the dual Milady setup, I have a Cold Milady in the main hand with Chilling Mist, and a Cold Milady in the offhand with Divine Beast Frost Stomp as the Ash of War. If you're going to go with the single Milady setup, I would recommend that you equip the Chilling Mist Ash of War on your main hand. For the seal, I'm using a Finger Seal. For the gear, I'm using the Iron Casa, and the rest is the Beast Champion Armor, Beast Champion Gauntlets, and Beast Champion Greaves. When it comes to the talismans, I have Dragoncrest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Two-Headed Turtle Talisman, and the Magic Scorpion Charm, which raises your magic damage, but you also take in more damage. So be careful with that talisman. If you don't want to use that talisman in particular, you can always swap it out with something else like Old Lord's Talisman, which increases the duration of your spells, such as the incantations. You could also equip the Shard of Alexander if you like using the other Ashes of War. When it comes to the incantations, I have the following: Bestial Vitality, Black Flame's Protection, and Golden Vow. When it comes to the Wondrous Physic, I'm using the following: Thorny Crack tier and Magic Shrouding Crack tier. If you feel like you need a little bit more damage negation, you can swap one of these out for the Opaline Hard tier. For RL 150, I have the following for the attribute points. I have Vigor at 50, Mind 20, Endurance 30, Strength 12, Dexterity 39, Intelligence 40, Faith 30, Arcane at 8. If you don't want Black Flame's Protection, you can lower the Faith down to 25 and reallocate those points into either Dexterity, Intelligence, or even some more life. For RL 200, I have the following: Vigor at 55, Mind at 20, Endurance 30, Strength 26, Dexterity 60, Intelligence 50, Faith 30, Arcane 8. And like I mentioned before, if you don't want Black Flame's Protection, you can lower your Faith from 30 to 25 and then reallocate those points into Strength, Dexterity, Endurance, or Mind, or even more life. Coming in at number 5, I have the Frost and Fire build. Now, this is a dual Milady setup, so there are no single Milady setup options for this one. The great thing about this build is whenever you cast or whenever you land your Frostbite on the enemy, you'll be able to reset that with the Fire affinity on your offhand weapon, which allows you to then build up the Frost damage once again. So once you hit Frostbite, the Fire completely resets it, and it's kind of a rinse repeat. So you will see a lot of Frost proccing. It all depends on how often you're able to build up the frost meter, which is why Chilling Mist comes into play and allows you to really build up that frost damage even further. So what I have here is a Cold Milady in the main hand linked with the Chilling Mist Ash of War. In the offhand, I have a Flame Art Milady linked with the Flame Skewer Ash of War. When it comes to the seal, you could use really any seal, and I'll give you some examples. We're not really using the seals to buff our weapons with this, but here are a few options. One is the Erd Tree seal, another is the Frenzied Flame seal, and then we also have the Finger Seal. And if you wanted to use both incantations and sorcery, since we have intelligence and faith on this build, you can always use the new Staff of the Great Beyond, which allows you to cast both incantations and sorceries. For the armor set, I'm using the Iron Casa, Beast Champion Armor, Beast Champion Gauntlets, and Beast Champion Greaves. For the talismans, I'm using the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Two-Headed Turtle Talisman. You have many options for the 4th talisman slot, such as the following. You could use the Claw Talisman, which enhances jump attacks. You could use the Magic Scorpion Charm, which increases your magic damage, but you do take in more damage, so be careful of that. You could also use the Fire Scorpion Charm, which raises your fire attack power, but again, it also takes in more damage when you wear it. When it comes to the Wondrous Physic, you definitely have many options here. I went with the Thorny Crack tier and then the Magic Shrouding Crack tier. You could also swap out the Thorny Crack tier for the Flame Shrouding Crack tier. If you feel like you're needing or lacking defenses, you could swap out one of these tiers for the Opaline Hard tier. For the RL 150 attribute points, I have the following. Vigor is 50, Mind is 20, Endurance is 29, and the reason this 29 is because I had one extra point that I couldn't spend for the 150 part. Strength is 12, Dexterity is 50, Intelligence is 30, Faith is 30, and Arcane is 8. For RL 200, I have the following. Vigor at 50, Mind at 20, Endurance at 30, Strength at 15, Dexterity 60, Intelligence at 48, Faith at 48, Arcane at 8. Coming in at number 4 is the Bleed and Poison build. This is a dual Milady setup, so one Milady will not work. For this build, I actually have 3 variations that I want to go over. The first variation is having a Poison Milady in your main hand with the Poisonous Mist as the Ash of War. In the offhand, you'll have a Blood Milady with the Seppuku Ash of War on that weapon. For the gear, you can go with the White Mask for the added bleed proc, or the Mushroom Crown, which raises your attack power when something nearby suffers from poison or rot. For the rest of the gear, I actually went with the Haslow's armor set just for drip, and I was really getting tired of wearing the other prior gear and other builds. But if you want to squeeze out some more damage, especially if you like to do jumping attacks, you can definitely use the Raptor's Black Feathers armor or the Gravebird's Black Quill armor set. For the talismans for this first variation, I was using the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, the Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Kindred of Rot's Exaltation. For the second variation, your main hand will be a Poison Milady with the Ash of War called Poison Flower Blooms Twice. With the Poison Flower Blooms Twice setup, this is where once an enemy is poisoned, you're going to do that dive kick with the Ash of War that will actually take off a chunk of their life once the enemy has been poisoned. Now, once you land the dive kick successfully, it'll remove the poison off of the enemy, but instead you'll get a proc damage. So it's really nice to have this mixed in with the bleed proc because you'll get the proc of the Poison Flower Blooms Twice coupled with your bleed proc at the same time. In the offhand, you're going to have a Blood Milady linked up with the Poison Mist Ash of War. For the headpiece, you can either go with the White Mask or you can go with the Mushroom Crown. For the body armor, you can go with Raptor's Black Feathers, or you can enhance your jump attacks with the Gravebird's Black Quill armor. To enhance the Poison Flower Blooms Twice kick, you can equip the Divine Bird Warrior Greaves. When it comes to the talismans, you could use the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Kindred of Rot's Exaltation. You can swap out one of those. If you end up using the Poison Flower Blooms Twice kick quite often, you could use the Shattered Stone Talisman, which raises potency of kicking and stomping skills. And because the Poison Flower Blooms Twice Ash of War is considered a kicking skill, this talisman will take advantage of that Ash of War. And then another option here is the Shard of Alexander. When it comes to the third variation, we're going to have Poison Milady in your main hand, and you're going to swap out the Poison Flower Blooms Twice Ash of War and replace it with the Poison Moth Flight Ash of War. And in your offhand, you're going to have the Blood Milady with the Poison Mist Ash of War on that weapon. And again, for the armor, it's going to be the same as prior. So you can either use the White Mask for the bleed proc, or you can use the Mushroom Crown, which raises the attack power when something nearby suffers from poison or rot. If you like using jumping attacks, I recommend using the Raptor's Black Feathers armor or the Gravebird's Black Quill armor. For the talismans, you can use the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Kindred of Rot's Exaltation. When it comes to the Wondrous Physic mix, I was using the Opaline Hard tier. Couple that with the Thorny Crack tier. For the seal, I have the Dragon Communion seal. For the incantations, I have the following: Bestial Vitality, Black Flames Protection, and Golden Vow. For the RL 150 setup, I have the following: Vigor at 50, Mind at 25, Endurance at 30, Strength at 12, Dexterity 33, Intelligence at 9, Faith at 30, and Arcane at 40. For the RL 200 setup, I have the following: Vigor at 50, Mind at 25, Endurance at 30, Strength at 15, Dexterity at 60, Intelligence at 9, Faith at 30, and Arcane at 60. Coming in at number 3, I have the Frost Bleed build. This is using the dual Milady setup. Unfortunately, you cannot use the single Milady with this setup here. So what I have here is the Cold Milady in the main hand, equipped with the Chilling Mist Ash of War. In the offhand, I have Blood Milady, equipped with the Seppuku Ash of War. For the seal, I'm using Dragon Communion seal. For the armor, I'm using the White Mask. I'm using the Raptor's Black Feathers, which strengthens your jump attacks. You could also use the Gravebird's Black Quill armor, which enhances jump attacks as well. The remaining two pieces, I'm using Gauntlets of Solitude and Greaves of Solitude. For the talismans, I'm using the following: Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Wing Sword Insignia, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, and Two-Headed Turtle Talisman. You can swap out the Two-Headed Turtle Talisman for the Claw Talisman in case you wanted some more enhanced jump attack. When it comes to the Wondrous Physic mix, I have Magic Shrouding Crack tier, Thorny Crack tier. If you feel like your defenses are lacking, feel free to swap one of these out for the Opaline Hard tier. For the incantations, I'm using Bestial Vitality, Black Flames Protection, and Golden Vow. For RL 150, I have the following for the attribute points: Vigor at 50, Mind at 23, Endurance at 30, Strength at 12, Dexterity 35, Intelligence at 9, Faith at 30, and Arcane at 40. For RL 200, I have the following attribute points: Vigor 55, Mind 25, Endurance 30, Strength 20, Dexterity 50, Intelligence 9, Faith 30, Arcane 60. Coming into the number 2 slot, I have the Crag Blade build. Now you can either do 2 Miladies or 1 single Milady. It's completely your choice. In the footage you're seeing here, I went with the dual setup. Now when you use the Crag Blade Ash of War, the world is your oyster. You can literally use standard, heavy, keen, quality, magic, fire, flame art, lightning, sacred, poison, blood, cold, or occult. So you can choose any of these with the Crag Blade setup. In the footage you're seeing here, in the example that I'm going to go over, I went with 2 Blood Miladies. Speaking of which, this is the setup for this build. 1 Blood Milady in the main hand, equipped with the Crag Blade Ash of War, and then 1 Blood Milady in the offhand, again equipped with another Crag Blade Ash of War. And so whenever I'd go into a boss fight, I would equip the left hand with 2 hands, apply Crag Blade to that one, and then go over to the main hand and apply Crag Blade again. So that way when you go to the boss fight, you have a dual Crag Blade setup. For the seal, I'm using Dragon Communion seal. For the armor, I'm using the White Mask for the bleed procs. For the body piece, I'm using Gravebird's Black Quill armor, although you can use the Raptor's Black Feathers. In case you didn't know, these armors are used for enhancing or strengthening your jump attacks. The rest of the gear, I just wanted for extra defense and poise. I happen to have the Gauntlets of Solitude and Greaves of Solitude. For the talismans, I have Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, and the Two-Headed Turtle Talisman. Feel free to swap out any of the talismans here that you don't really care for maybe like a Claw Talisman, which also enhances your jump attacks. When it comes to the Wondrous Physic, I have the following: Opaline Hard tier and Thorny Crack tier. For the incantations, are the 3 same ones that I've always been using for all of my builds, which is Bestial Vitality, Black Flames Protection, and Golden Vow. Before I go into the recommended attributes, just know that the example I'm going to give you is for the Bleed Crack Blade setup. So this will be heavy on the arcane side. For the RL 150, I have 50 Vigor, 25 Mind, 30 Endurance, 12 Strength, 33 Dexterity, 9 Intelligence, 30 Faith, and 40 Arcane. For RL 200, I have 55 Vigor, 25 Mind, 30 Endurance, 12 Strength, 58 Dexterity, 9 Intelligence, 30 Faith, and 60 Arcane. Coming in with the number one spot is the dual blood Milady setup with dual seppukus. You could also do this setup or this build with a single Milady setup. It's your choice. In the video footage you're seeing here, I ended up going with the dual Milady setup. So the setup goes as follows. In my main hand, I have a blood Milady linked up with the Ash of War seppuku. In the offhand, I have the same exact setup, a blood Milady with the Ash of War seppuku. For the seal, I have Dragon Communion Seal. For the armor, I have the White Mask, which increases your attack power with blood loss in the vicinity. For the body piece, I have Gravebird's Black Quill Armor. For the jumping attacks, you can also equip the Raptor's Black Feathers, which also enhances your jumping attacks. For the remaining two armor pieces, I went with Gauntlets of Solitude and Greaves of Solitude. For the talismans, I have Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman, Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, Lord of Blood's Exaltation, and Two-Headed Turtle Talisman. You can swap this out for the Claws Talisman as well, which will further enhance your jumping attacks. For the Wondrous Physics mix, I have Opaline Heart here and Thorny Crack here. For the incantations, I have Bestial Vitality, Black Flames Protection, and Golden Vow. For the RL 150 attribute points, I have the following: Vigor 50, Mind 20, Endurance 30, Strength 12, Dexterity 38, Intelligence 9, Faith 30, and Arcane at 40. For RL 200, I have the following attribute points: Vigor 55, Mind 20, Endurance 30, Strength 15, Dexterity 60, Intelligence 9, Faith 30, and Arcane at 60.